Welcome to Sheffield Hopcast. It is May 2019 and I reckon that we're at a pub that you've probably not heard of. So we're at the Crow Inn, which is, well, I say we're at a pub. It's almost a pub. It's a pub in building at the moment. We've got the usual crew here. We've also got a special guest with us tonight, which is Chris Bamford. Hi, Chris.
Hello.
So people will probably know you from the Rutland Arms. And we're at your, do we call it your new venture, the Crow Inn?
Yeah, that's fair.
And it is at the moment, it's not quite a building site because it's coming together pretty well, but it is kind of work in progress.
Yes, very much so. And I think actually not quite a building site is not true. It's still very much a building site.
Well, it's to paint the scene.
There's a builder here.
So we're sat on actual kind of pub seating, which is good, around one of the little sort of off shots from the bar. I say the bar. There is a bar. That's definitely there. You've got toilets.
We have.
It's coming together pretty well.
Yeah.
What's the time scale?
Well, potentially within sort of 3 weeks away. However, we are just waiting for one thing from planning, basically, to sign us off a couple of things. And we're just waiting for a response from them.
The planners at Sheffield Council listen to this.
Of course they do.
So frigging move.
They spend a lot of time on the beers. To kind of help kind of explain this to you a little bit better, so if you remember the Old Crown, more recently the Sleep Hotel, that is where we are. It's kind of up the side of the old West Bar police station, and there's a couple of apartment blocks nearby, so where Metis, the apartment block, is there. Is it Scotland Street?
Scotland Street.
Scotland Street.
Yeah, bang opposite
that's a pretty
Hyde.
good. That's like James Satnav there. That's just guided you to where we are. We'll talk a bit more about the pub a little bit later on. Let's go around the table and let's do beer of the month, and let's start with Sean.
Good stuff. I went to London over the bank holiday weekend, and this is a real shocker, really. I had all sorts of lovely beers, but my favourite of the weekend was in a pub called the Pineapple in Kentish Town, and it was from Tring Brewery.
Oh.
There you go.
I don't think I've heard of them.
Tring Brewery.
London Brewery?
A Mosaic Session IPA. They're not London. Tring's in
Northamptonshire,
somewhere around that. Somewhere
in Lower
I think it could be Hertfordshire.
Yeah, I think it's
It's one of those counties in the south that no one really knows
a
where they are.
Session Mosaic IPA, and it was absolutely fantastic. So a shout out to Tring Brewery. I've never had anything from them before, and it were brilliant.
We used to love Tring very Shakespeare's.
Did you?
Yeah, back in the
Come into
day.
a beer shop near you anytime soon?
Probably not.
Right, wasn't that good then?
Well, it were on cask. I don't even know whether they bottle or anything or can. It got a more traditional look to it as a pump clip, but I like Mosaic Session IP. I wanted a pint, and it was fantastic. Of course, it went off immediately after I had my pint.
I've just looked them up and they are in Hertfordshire.
Hertfordshire. I think that was his third
That was my
guess.
third guess.
Yeah, so
Better than But they sound great. Their little intro on Google says Real Ale Brewery, hosting both long and short tours, some including a fish and chip supper.
wow.
That sounds
Yeah,
marvellous.
I didn't know, and I picked that out without knowing about the fish and chips, honestly. So,
Good stuff. So we heard a bit of Laura there. Now, Laura, you can normally be trusted for coming up with something a bit out of the ordinary for your beer of the month. Normally, not from this country.
bit out on the ordinary from Torside.
I've picked something a little bit out of the ordinary, but I don't think it's it's not from Torside.
Right.
Change.
Have you done all their beers
from
then?
this country, probably.
Torside completed them.
I did have a really just while I'm on Torside, I went to their brewery tap the other week and had their collab with Boutilliers.
Boutilliers,
Don't really know how you say it.
Drew, Boutilliers.
Yeah, Zero Ducks. That was a raspberry IPA that I was heartily encouraged to put some Prosecco in, which obviously I did, and that was great. That would be my second choice,
Right.
but I didn't want to pick Torside again, and now you've made me talk about them again. They've just announced the date for Smokefest as well, 9th and 10th of November. But anyway,
Welcome to the
So-
Torside.
She's not gone off them.
Now
So
our
my-
guest brewery spot.
So my actual beer of the month, I'm not sure if it's actually even a beer. It's brewed at a brewery, But it's not beer. I have picked a kombucha. We had met with the owners of. They're not that new as a company, but they're new to kind of large-scale production. Boot and Brew, who are based in Altrincham, Manchester.
Cheshire. Get in there. Am I right? Cheshire, Altrincham.
It's your past.
Get in there. I'm back.
Tourism and travel to
It is Cheshire.
But they do 3 different flavours, and I got to try them all. My favourite, they do a strawberry and mint one. I think it's got a tiny little bit of alcohol in there, but barely any. But you brew it like a beer, but then you whack a thing called a SCOBY in it. That's a symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast.
Oh, I like the sound of a SCOBY. That sounds good.
And it gets rid of all the alcohol, basically. And you're left with, it's like a fermented tea in essence. But yeah, this is a strawberry and mint version, and they do bottles and kegs as well. But they're marketing themselves very much on the kind of beer alternative rather than the health drink stuff that you get a lot of in
What are they called?
Boot and Brew.
Right. The guy that used to drive for Mad Hatter was setting up a kombucha sort of outfit as they finished and left, but I don't know the name of it.
I don't think it was him.
No.
It sounds unusual.
It was really nice, like a little bit tart, really refreshing.
Yeah, I was thinking refreshing.
Close to
Yeah.
a sour
Description.
beer.
Not quite as sour as that, but I think if you leave it to ferment for longer, it keeps getting sour. But it was just really nice. The balance, not too sweet. I would recommend it.
My beer of the month is, I think, a beer that Adam picked maybe last month or the month before.
trendsetter.
And I'm going all the way back to the beer festival at Abbeydale, the Piss Up in the Brewery. However, it's not a beer that I had there. After having many beers through the evening, I went home with my friend who come with me, who was staying over in my spare room, and we just grabbed a random beer out of my fridge.
It's beer of the month, this, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm getting there. And we grabbed a random beer out of the fridge. Now, bear in mind, we're pretty tipsy this time. When you get to that point, you can't really tell a good beer from a bad beer, I don't think.
Was it Foster's?
And it was a new brewery called Carling. No, it was the Whiplash Double IPA, Surrender to the Void.
Yeah.
Was it last month that you?
Oh, no, it was a while ago.
Was it a while ago?
It was,
It's been in my fridge for a little while,
2
actually.
months ago.
But after,
It was before the one we did in your shop.
Yeah.
Because I was saying you should get some
That's
more
it.
Whiplash.
that's March, isn't it? Yes, it's a couple of months back. And it was absolutely beautiful, fantastic beer. One of the best beers I've had this year. It was just frustrating because it'd been in the fridge for a while, so it wasn't kind of on sale anywhere afterwards. And I kind of feel like I really wanted it to be my first beer of the night rather than last beer of the night to fully appreciate it. So if anyone from Whiplash is listening, drop me a DM, send me a can. I'll be very appreciative. That's mine.
Me too.
Adam?
Really simple this month. In this post-Magic Rock world, apparently. Well, no. We're seeing quite a lot of Kernel at the Rutland. I've drunk quite a lot of the new permanent kind of pump of the Kernel Pale Ale, which was just Citra. Just really good. 5.6%, I think.
Absolute class.
It's not the only one I've had since it's since it's been getting more in, but we still don't get that much Kernel up here. I don't feel like I see that much, and just to have it as a kind of guaranteed pump is really good to see. So yeah, just really enjoy that. So Kernel Pale Ale Citra.
Good choice. Nice and simple. Yeah, it is good. There's a couple of relatively simple beers that we've had there. Sean, yours was fairly simple.
Mine,
Chris, what's been your favourite beer of the month?
It's strangely enough mine is also a Kernel one.
That's all right.
Slightly
What
less.
coincidence.
Strangely enough, there's been a bit more Kernel around in Sheffield over the last month or so.
It's been here for 5 years, Adam.
Yeah.
Permanent.
If you get a tap installed, like, come with lunchtime.
Anyway, and as Adam said, Rutland now has a permanent Kernel Pale Ale, and we also had a Kernel Tap takeover to celebrate the fact we have a permanent Kernel Pale line, and it's one of the other beers from that is my beer of the month, which was the small Damson Mosaic Saison,
That sounds nice.
which was basically Kernel beer de Saison. Damson is always a bit of a winner. This
in
is
stock at the moment.
the small Damson was basically the second running, so they poured the beer over the Damsons, let it sit, keg and bottle the Damson one, then they put more beer in onto the Damson stones, and what's left of the Damsons got a bit more Damson out of it, and then added a load of mosaic hops, kegged it, about 5%. Just one of those beers where drank it, and there's not many beers that make me go, oh wow. And it was just one of those. As I tasted it, I had to get up at about 6 a.m. the next day to go to a wedding, and so I limited myself to a couple of halves, and that was one of them. It's like, damn it, I could have had a lot more than a couple of halves if I didn't have to get up that early. And just the Evan, who's the owner of Colonel, who when we sent a message about changing to their suppliers, it's him who responded, and then he sent us information about some of the beers, and just his description of this one was like, he went into detail about how they made it, all of this, but the thing I remember most was his description about the colour was, the colour, underwhelming.
What was it?
It's just got a murky, pinky, greyish. It wasn't a great colour, but it was just like no dressing it up. It was just
don't judge a beer by its colour.
Yeah.
I was going to say it sounds like a similar colour to the paint in the Crow.
Yeah, that's what. Actually, strangely enough, is exactly what we modelled it on.
Damson walls.
We are adding more colour to the walls. Actually, we're going to add some deeper, darker colours just to bring it in a bit, but we wanted to put the seating in first, so we didn't overdo it. So you know, because we wanted to be better than underwhelming.
Right, we've got a new rule that I'm putting in place. I've not told any of you about this before now, but from the moment that when we get to each beer, from the moment that we crack it open, then we have a timer of 10 minutes, and then we've got to open the next beer. So you've got 10 minutes to drink
That's good.
the beer, and we've got to move on to the next one. So that's a new rule that's kicked in today, which brings us to the beer. And
is this a new rule connected with your holiday tomorrow?
No. This will be a new rule for every month from now on. It's 10-minute max per beer, and then we've got to move on.
What if it's like a 12%?
Well, then you're going to get drunk.
We haven't got anything over 5.5. I don't think.
Well, we normally have a theme. So the theme this month is best described as Sean's gone rogue.
Random.
You've just picked.
Well, I suggested a theme nearly a week ago now, which was suggest a brewery that gave you a memory of a pub, so we could have a story about.
I didn't see that one.
I didn't see that. Are you sure this happened?
This did happen. I'm prepared to show. We will on the Twitter feed tomorrow show
Print screen,
copies of the discussion. Yeah, with us being in a pub, and Chris being a master of pubs, but just didn't get picked up, so we've gone for 4 randoms.
4 randoms.
All right. I like that.
My instructions this morning from one of you was to go with 4 new releases.
Well, I thought new pub,
Yeah.
new beers.
Yeah,
So that
very
was
good.
that was my suggestion,
Yeah.
which got ignored. That was nice.
All right.
I think I suggested new breweries, but not new beers.
All right.
Is this as much?
So we've just gone completely random.
Yes.
So what are we starting with?
Beer number 1 is from Cloudwater, and it's called Hoppy Little Lager. And much to the craft brewing industry's disappointment, I find lagers still very, very boring, even though they're very cool to drink now, of course. But this one caught my eye. Hoppy Little Lager. I've always thought lagers just lacked a little bit more hoppiness.
Okay.
So Deborah is our lager lover at Beer Central, and I generally leave her to it, but this one did catch my eye, so I thought we'd kick off with this one tonight.
So have you tried this yet?
I've had a one mouthful slurp of it.
Okay.
3.6%, and a new release from Pale Zesty Little Hoppy Lager. I see it as a nice starter beer on a summer's evening. We'll see how we go with it.
Yeah.
That's good. Right. I'll give the can to Adam.
So it should be judged very much
as
as what it is.
It's
A Hoppy Little Lager.
The 10-minute slot sounds a bit like what an Australian would call a SCOBY.
Oh,
Just having a quick SCOBY.
I'm not sure that we've even done a lager before.
Yeah, well,
you know,
I also
on the
thought
podcast.
that. Yeah, just to show I did put more effort in. I also did think that myself this morning, that we'd not really had a lager, and after I fancied down cocktails last time, I thought a
So we've
simple
gone
lager
proper back to
kick-off
basics.
tonight would be a good start. Yes.
So 3.6%. This is a relatively new release, isn't it?
It is,
only
yeah,
been out
just
for
in the
a
last
couple
week.
of weeks.
Yeah.
I was at Cloudwater a couple of weeks back, and I think they had it on, but obviously it had the word lager in it, so naturally it went kind of bottom of the list for me. But it is. I'm looking forward to trying it.
See, because it has the word little in it, for me,
I
that pushes it up a list.
I like that. Yeah,
Make
I
a
like
beer
that.
sound
Yeah, I'm a
cute,
big
and I'm
fan.
guaranteed
Yeah,
to
I
like
agree.
it.
We did a
agree.
little beer episode, didn't we, last year? Like a small beers episode.
We've done a Cloudwater small, for definite.
Or did we never? Maybe we
No, I
never
don't
did
think
the
we've done a
actual
low
smalls, but we
ABV
did do a
one.
Cloudwater small. I
Yeah.
remember that. It was at
Episode
the
4.
White Lion, wasn't it?
Mm.
It was. I remember it.
Rap themed one. They got biggie smells.
Adam is the king of smalls. Actually,
Yeah, I do
you're,
like a
you're the
small,
boss.
yeah.
You're the boss man for it.
I just think it's just everyone can just chuck hops and sort of strength at stuff, but to wind it back in and be quite like
it's harder to
it's
hide.
harder to hide behind it.
Yeah.
And I
So
think
another brew, I know we talked about them. Whiplash do some really good.
Yeah.
Like, they
Whip-
call them micro
yeah,
beers,
I've
don't they? They're
mentioned it
really
before.
yeah,
Yeah.
one of my beer a month actually.
they're as
there's-
good as their double
There's
IPAs.
there's a 2.9 on it at Rutland today. Is my marble one.
Yeah.
What's that called? I've never seen it before, but on cask.
Striding Edge from Northern Monk.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a roaring
I
trade.
had their
as well.
tropical one recently as well
Yeah.
in Manchester, which I don't tend to go for something that's overly fruited if I can help it, but I thought that it didn't feel like too much. It was just like a really nice kind of just helped it actually. I think a little bit. Yeah.
I mean, that's definitely knockable, backable, isn't
It's
it?
really
It's
backable.
so drinkable.
It is,
It's
isn't it?
unreal, isn't it?
Yeah,
It absolutely glides down in a pretty pleasant way.
yeah.
I'm not getting a lot from it, to be honest.
No.
It's completely inoffensive, isn't
I
it?
think, yeah.
It tastes quite like lager tastes.
I think there is enough little bit of hoppiness in it to make
I would
it
like
interesting
a little
to
bit
me.
More, I think.
But does it then drift into a pale?
Yeah,
start
it's
drifting
difficult,
into pale
isn't it?
ale territory and
Not if it's being brewed with lager yeast.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure it goes far enough to justify the hoppy in its name.
Well, it's very pleasant.
Yeah.
Oh, forget that Cloudwater don't tell you anything on the labels anymore.
Does anybody think that
No,
looks
they
like an
don't.
IKEA kind of? Just that like when you have to go to the edge of a.
Off the bay.
I know it's not
Yeah.
very good for audio, but just the where the barcode is, it just looks like like the very black and white IKEA.
It does a bit, yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah.
As soon as I saw it, I thought
At
like,
least
like
20
Bilbo
years
or
since
something.
I went in an IKEA. Can anyone?
I've never
beat
been
that?
in
You
an
never?
IKEA.
I've lost a
Shake your hand. Well done.
Well, go have a look.
Bank
Very well
holiday,
done.
bank holiday Monday just gone.
Take the
Yeah.
empty,
Did
take
you?
this empty can with you.
So you were looking as vague as I was.
I mean, I'm familiar with the aesthetic of IKEA. I did walk past the one
Yeah,
in
that
Sheffield
counts,
the
that
other
counts.
day, but I mean only on the other side of the canal from it. So I put water between myself and it.
So how's this one been selling?
It's fine. I think the name of it, interesting, linking back to Laura, Hoppy Little Lager, catches people's eye. Yeah, imagination, and I think with that name, it is also treated in that way, not to expect anything sort of ridiculous or stupendous. Just a really pleasant, almost starter beer or session beer. If you're watching a football match, lager, yeah.
Well, initially this month, the original plan back in January when we kind of drew up our plan for the year was that we were going to go and sit in a park and do pod in the park or picnic with a pod in the park or something. Now in hindsight, that was a good call to not do it because it's not. There's a tiny bit of sunshine actually just peeping through now, but it's not warm and it's definitely not dry. But it's a very kind of summery feel to it.
Yeah.
This would be the perfect beer for that.
Yeah.
I can see those scenarios, when it's a day that's so like insanely hot that you're just struggling to do anything.
But great with food.
That would
Fits
really
in,
quench
sits in
that
nice,
thirst, wouldn't it?
It really would.
Do we think this is an attempt to go for a different market, or is it just them going, we can be clever, we can still do a lager?
Cloudwater do loads of lagers at the moment. They do seem to have.
Yeah.
They seem to.
Suppose they do,
Their aim is to make lager craft.
Yeah. I'm not sure putting Hoppy on the front would be an attempt
No,
to break
maybe
it
not,
into
no.
a new market.
Thinking of strength, it's in a kind of Carlsberg
it
range, isn't
would be aimed. I'm going to say it would be aimed at me, perhaps, and me as a type of drinker that doesn't drink lager hardly ever. But as soon as I saw that to order, I wanted to order it and I wanted to drink it.
And
I will drink it again.
Are you happy with it?
I'm very happy. I will drink it again. Yeah. I can see that now.
Very
good.
Mine's gone. Didn't even need my 10 minutes.
Yeah,
I wanted to
Yeah,
try.
so I'm trying to just kind of elk mine out a little bit more because that does go down really well.
There's quite a bit in there if you want to stop. You've got time left.
Some to Adam as well. He's gone doing some gardening or something.
So what have we made of? Cloudwater have been throwing quite a lot of stuff out recently, and I've had a fair old bit of it. I personally feel like Cloudwater are slightly back on form after a bit of a dodgy spell.
Yeah.
Sean looks completely disinterested.
But you know what you're getting at.
I think that there is with the amount of releases that they do, there is, I suppose, bound to be a sort of variation in how people perceive the beers that are released, and a bit of inconsistency perhaps. But they continue to sell really well.
Yeah.
So the popularity's there. Went in their Unit 9 at Bermondsey on Sunday night this week, and that was buzzing along nicely. Lots of people in there. So London seems to love them.
Probably the cheapest beer you can buy in London, to be fair.
They're very good value, I think. We're selling this at it's either £2.95 or £3.20, and it's easy to get into the sort of mindset that everything's £6 and £7. And even their dippers we generally sell at £5.95, and so they're much better value than a Verdant, but that has to travel, and cheaper than Northern Monk as well. So I think they're very accessible to people.
Yeah, they've always been pretty decent value-wise, haven't they, Cloudwater? They've not kind of bumped up those prices unnecessarily.
I think I had my first Cloudwater tap room experience this month, actually. I think, did you as well? Manchester one, yeah. The one that's on a bit of a weird industrial estate. It feels like you go in for like a speed awareness course.
Yeah.
Like,
you're going to leave with a pair of new tyres for your car.
Yeah, we kind of went for a wander with my brother. My brother lives in Manchester, and obviously it's not in the railway arch anymore or whatever. Is it? I don't know.
Carol stores.
And
can't quit it.
We kind of wandered over, found it,
They've gone.
and then felt like we missed it. Double back on ourselves. There's some guys like, "Are you looking for Cloudwater as well?" We're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "I think there's a logo there," and you got even to the door does not look like it's going to be a bar at all, and it's upstairs. And it feels kind of moody, kind of music, like you meditate to, and very white light. It felt like a beer kind of heaven.
It's very hipster, isn't it? They literally have meditation playing in the toilet, in the unisex toilet. So it is very hipster, but I like the one in Manchester. I've been a few times now. I think it's really good.
I like
me and Sean were there, weren't we, after Indie Beer Man when I had a row with your friend.
That's it.
I do like how much of an effort they've made to make it like accessible and welcoming to people who wouldn't necessarily go to a brewery tap or something like that. You can tell they've put a lot of effort into that, and I think they do a really good job as well of spreading the message of everyone can come here and just sit and chill and
There's
enjoy a beer.
Definitely a lot of thought into the inclusivity of it.
It's interesting though that in London the tap we went to before that was 4 Pure. 4 Pure have now stepped out of the independent beer scene, and the difference between the two with chalk and cheese. I expected 4 Pure to be very polished now because they've been bought over quite some months ago. But theirs was very community led in Bermondsey. The Cloudwater one felt more hipster. Is perhaps the wrong word, but it's an appropriate word to use. It felt much more serious in there, whereas the other one, everybody was just having more laughs.
I always enjoyed the
lot more.
The 4 Pure one. It's got the ping pong table, isn't it?
Yeah.
And and then some company called Lion bought them.
Yeah.
Whatever became of them.
That is our timer.
Oh, that's a great
There you go. Yeah, there was some sniggering a few moments ago.
first, yeah.
People might have heard. We did have an audience here, Adam and Liz from the Crow Inn, but they've left us. They've gone down to Shakespeare's.
Well, they've just
Or
got
Bar
Stewart's
Yeah,
and
or
Bamford.
Barstew's possibly.
Other
yeah.
pubs are available.
Yes, they
Well,
are. They've
I'll let
gone
you know
down
later.
the hill to Slurtsville. We've
Didn't
been
say
done.
bye.
Well, on that note, let's crack open another beer then. What's the second from your Sean Goes Rogue selection tonight?
I'm going to offer this one up. Shall we go sour next, or shall we break up these two with a sour and go sour third? Do you think?
I think sour.
Sour third is what I was thinking. So
All right.
game on me and Laura. I'll make the decision. for
Okay.
everyone.
So, beer number 2.
So beer number 2 is Rhubarb Streisand from Brew York in York, of course. No surprises there. And it's the extra custard edition. Custard is very much the thing at the moment. We put out the Turning Point Dark Matter Chocolate Custard Stout this morning, and everyone's gone crazy for that
Got
today.
one of them in my shed.
Have you got it already? Yeah.
With Turning Point are doing craft beer hour on next Tuesday, so we've got 4 cans.
Move partners, me and
Try
James have
and
moved on to
Yeah.
one of
sharing
them is
sharing Christopher.
is the
Yeah.
chocolate custard. I had it on cask actually at
Did you?
Shakespeare's.
I would imagine it'd be unbelievable.
It was great.
Yeah,
It tasted like
unbelievable.
school dinners in the best way.
I should reveal I don't like custard. Never have. Never.
It won't actually contain custard though, will it?
Of course not. It's vanilla with no big thick splodges. So I like
Why
vanilla.
don't you like custard? This is
just-
interesting.
I'm not
Mainly
a fan
contains
of
Rhubarb
milk.
by the
I'm not a fan of milk,
Custard chat.
and I
Is
find
it anything with C? 'Cause he don't like coffee either, does he?
no milk.
You can get. You
Milk.
can get. I can confirm. You can get vegan custard.
This
Yeah,
is not-
it's just the creaminess of milk. Although I do like milk on me Rice
Jesus.
Krispies. So,
I have custard for breakfast on
Yeah,
its own.
it's
quite
I
a
could
sharp
have
one.
got
Ginger in as well.
So there's a real aroma to
What's
this.
this? 5.5,
Yeah.
I've got
and
a
it's
feeling.
described as a milkshake pale.
I've got
Yeah.
a feeling we've done the original one on the half pint.
Rhubarb.
Yeah, we have done rhubarb
I
Streisand.
also
Yeah.
like that it's got the
That is much different though.
Oh,
at the beginning
Yeah.
of this taste.
I was going to say,
Oh, it's got
thought that was the ingredient list to
Oh,
start with. Woo, 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 woo. Woo, woo, woo. Woo, 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 woo. Rhubarb Streisand.
We've not changed the.
oh, it's the
The
lyrics,
ducks.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can call it lyrics.
Woo, woo, yeah.
Barbra
Or woo, woo,
Streisand.
that classic Weatherspoons cocktail. This is bright red.
Now that's very
There's some
sweet,
very
that.
puzzled faces as I look round the
Yeah.
table.
I was
no
kind
one
of,
really
I
sure
was
what to make
hoping
of it.
it was going to taste more creamy, whereas it tastes like it's like the sour rhubarb and custard boiled sweets.
Yeah.
Rather than
It is very
Actual
sweet.
custard.
Very sweet.
It is very sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back little bag of sweets.
Something I
hard-boiled
can't put my
sweets,
finger
yeah.
on it.
I like it. I think I like that it's been given a retro rating and 5 out of 5.
Oh, right, okay.
I'm liking it. I'm drinking it very quickly, but I'm not convinced I'd have a second can if I were drinking.
No,
a can of it.
I might struggle to drink an entire can
It's
of
just-
that, but it is actually quite drinkable. It does go
Yeah.
down pretty well.
It's just inside the sickly for me, like it's in a
Just on the right side.
right
of the
the
fence.
right side of the sickly. Yeah.
I would hope for a bit more custard with the extra custard edition.
You don't like custard?
I know, but I would have
We should.
creamy vanilla-ness.
I'm
It's still
not
got that
really getting much
zinginess.
vanilla.
It's got that rhubarby zinginess in it.
Yeah.
I mean, the rhubarb stuff's still quite subtle though.
Yeah.
But I'm not getting much vanilla, so I'm not sure what it is that I'm kind of getting from it. Is it a little bit milky?
Laura,
There is lactose in it.
There is.
could that be converted into a cocktail? No.
I'm sure it could.
I feel like
Can
that
you
means
just
crushed
melt
ice
boiled
and like
sweets?
maybe a
Is that
slice of lime or something with it.
Sadly, our ice machine isn't plugged in yet.
Well, on that subject, let's talk a bit about the pub, Chris. We've kind of discussed a little bit about where it is. Tell us, kind of, what sort of brings us to this situation. What's the story?
Kick off with the Crow. It's a nice.
So
start.
why is it called the Crow?
Yeah.
Well, because we couldn't think of a better name.
No.
Basically, we spent a long time. Historically, the pub's called the Crown originally. Then it was renamed R&B's after the landlord and landlady Ruth and Barry back in the 80s. It was sort of one of those, a bit like Fagan's, where it was colloquially known as Ruth and Barry's or R&B's, and then they got to the point where everyone called it that, and so it, for a certain point, changed its name to that. They retired. I think they live in Mallorca or something now. There's some people they're still spoken of quite fondly by older pub goers who I've spoken to, and it changed its name back to the Old Crown at that point, and then it closed as a pub in the mid 2000s, and was.
Did anyone ever drink in this pub?
Yeah, well, I used to live in Metis, so I lived around the corner.
Right.
So it must have been. I don't know if it was the Crown or whether it had reopened as something else, very temporarily. It would have been probably about 10 years ago now.
It's at least that since it closed as a pub, yeah.
Yeah, and it definitely, it had been closed and it reopened as something. It only opened for about 6 months and then it was shut again. And I can't particularly kind of say that I sort of recognise the place from that one visit, but yeah, I mean, obviously it's a place that's got quite a bit of history to it.
It's got a lot of
but
history to it.
It's clear that you've done quite a lot of work here as well. So what's kind of like the ethos? What's the plan? What are you sort of trying to create here? I guess the assumption is that it's going to be kind of Rutland Mark II, is what people will assume.
I mean, it's not going to be Rutland Mark II because of one big thing, which is the fact that we're not going to be doing food. The kitchen space is not really, it's not a big space at all. We couldn't do food to the standard that we do at the Rutland, and we kind of think, therefore, we probably shouldn't try.
Right.
Because if we can't match it, then it'll probably end up having a bit of a net, it'll disappoint people, and that's never a good thing. And the other thing that we have here is the fact that there are still 7 hotel rooms, because in that period, once it closed as the Crown, it was a 10-room budget hotel is what it called itself. Should probably have called itself a hostel.
I thought you were going to say brothel.
I mean, should possibly have also called itself that from some of the stories I've heard. And I mean, we are very much in what was the red light district of Sheffield. I lived in Q4 apartments 500 metres down the road 10 years ago when I worked at the Harlequin, and to walk to work I, as standard, walk past 3 prostitutes. And the area's changed a lot, which is obviously one of the things around here is the idea is that there are some very good pubs around here, one of which I already was part of the opening of, and I think this space between the city centre and Kelham Island is a space that could do with another good pub, because we've got the 3 Tons already just down the road. My business partner Kate, who is enjoying herself in Poland at the moment, was the manager there, so she knows the area very well as well. I was manager of Shakespeare's for 5 years from when it was reopened in 2011. So we kind of know the area. We know a lot of people who drink in the area. So I guess the idea sort of here was always an area we wanted to open somewhere, and just kind of fit in with the kind of, we're going to be beer-wise more keg than we are cask, which is different to most of the places in this area. We're sort of going to be 5 hand pumps and 8 ever-changing keg lines, and 6 permanents, which include the lagers and things like that, obviously, plus bottles.
So that's kind of what, 12 or 13?
So there's 14 keg lines and 5 hand pumps.
Okay.
Is going to be the plan. They will be on the bar come early next week. Not with beers on until we're actually open.
Is it, and you'll probably be kind of humble about this, but I think you're someone within Sheffield that has a really incredible reputation on the beer scene, particularly in terms of some of the beers that you've kind of been able to bring to the Rutland that probably wouldn't have kind of seen light of day in Sheffield if not for kind of the work that you've sort of done there. Is beer-wise, is it going to be similar to what we've come to love?
The aim is certainly going to be that there'll be some beers on here that won't have been available in Sheffield before. We already have a selection of sort of 10 to 15 stouts, mainly American, that are currently sat in a corner in the Rutland cellar that are going to be moved over here, like things like some Hoppy and Frog stouts, a variant on Speedway stout, Prairie Bomb, a couple of Westbrooks, including like this year's anniversary.
Are they going to be for an event, or you're
They'll
opening?
be. We're just going to have a line that has that sort of thing on.
Yeah.
I think we've got a keg of Mexicake on order, so there's some stuff like that that's coming. There's a couple of Cascades coming across. Because I think if you're going to do something like this, we need to sort of set a stall out really, and I think somewhere in Sheffield needs to do it, and so having 3 places doing it, if it's us here, the Rutland and Shakespeare's, all the better.
Yeah. Will we be seeing some of the famous takeovers that you
I imagine so.
some odd
Yeah.
countries and
I mean, obviously, because we'll be running here and the Rutland, we don't want to necessarily do the same thing. And obviously, the good thing about the country takeovers at the Rutland is there's the food aspect, where we can also, which we can't do here. So I think we'll probably theme things slightly differently. We're maybe more likely to do brewery tap takeovers here and country ones there.
don't stop talking, just beers.
Timer is up.
Can I ask
gonna
a
lost
bonus
nothing for you.
question though, and then I'll talk less about the next beer. Is the crow a reference to the famous crow?
So, I mean,
Please
back
tell
to back
me
to
yes.
the back to the original question, I suppose.
Yeah.
So when
Was it Kevin the crow or Carl?
Gary
Gary the crow.
Crow.
Yeah.
So when last summer, before we were involved in here, I was opening the Rutland up in the morning, cleaning the beer garden. I walked into the pub, just back in, not open. This is before service, and this thing swooped over my head from the corner, crashed into a window, and landed on the seat. What do we have?
Morning, Gary.
Now a concussed crow.
I remember following this on social media.
Yes,
on
basically
the day.
it was hanging around the beer garden a bit, and it obviously kind of clocked that something might be going on inside, whatever, smelt the kitchen, whatever, wandered in, and I hadn't noticed, so I kind of, sweep in the garden, old fag ends up, there you go, and wandered in, and freaking crow swoops down over my head, I'm like, and then we've got a concussed crow sat in the corner of the pub. And crows are not small birds. You don't want to be. You don't want to too much annoy one.
Don't want to make an enemy of a
I'm not
crow.
saying crows are violent, but I wouldn't want to
Yeah.
pick a fight with one.
No.
I've seen the birds.
And you're sure it wasn't a rook?
I'm sure it wasn't. We got a close look,
Jackdaw.
I know you're a famous twitcher, Chris. I trust your judgment.
and it wasn't a raven either.
No.
But
In all seriousness, is it a link to the crown without the end thing? Though?
that's the.
I thought it was just the end falling off the side.
So,
it was just the
there's this story we had to, in the end, get the trouble. We couldn't open the pub with a crow in the corner because customers just sat there with this crow suddenly comes back, swoops over, tries to eat their dinner, whatever. Recipe for disaster. But obviously we couldn't. We tried calling the RSPCA, and they were like, "Well, there's not much we can do, really. It's not." Yes. And kind of we kind of tried to sort of go around and, sort of try and chase it a little bit toward, kind of scare it into the bit where it might then see the exit. Wasn't working. Eventually, after a sort of hour or so, it began to come round a bit, and, kind of looking quite scared. And hang on a second. Hansel and Gretel, what would they do? So, trail of burger crumbs from the crow out the back door. So the crow comes round a bit, goes to the first one. Sees the next one, walks a bit more towards the door, and then came round behind it. So it just flew straight down the corridor and out. It was closed for about an hour and a half
Beautifully done.
due to the crow.
Skill.
And then Mr. Sean Clark here sees this, thinking it's all some sort of publicity
It
stunt.
clearly was.
Gets himself Beer Central's own crow.
He'll be coming on a visit.
Invited to opening night, obviously.
Gary the Crow.
Well, I think
I'm
we
not
called
sure
him Gary.
Yeah,
I think
I wanted
But
something
anyway.
more Kenny sort of thing.
Kevin the Crow.
I think we call now as Kenny. And he'll be
Yes.
here. Kenny will be making a visit.
So to come back to the Crown connection, the pub used to be called the Crown. We didn't want to call it the Crown. Neither of us are particularly monarchist. You know, we've got something in common with Danny Baker on that front, but hopefully without the racism. You know,
he's certainly a better broadcaster than he is anyway.
That's good to know. Here is jobs vacant.
He would have been sacked as a shit broadcaster many years ago.
Well, you know, but not massive fan of royalty, so we didn't really want. And there are already pubs called the Crown in Sheffield. We didn't really want to be associated with. I'm not saying they're terrible pubs, or maybe I am.
The Crow it is.
And we looked at all sorts of historical things that we could, but the trouble is, you start looking and you end up sounding like a Wetherspoons.
Yeah.
Or a couple of things we kind of thought, that's quite a nice name, and then we Urban Dictionary'd them, and then we decided maybe best not. And in the end, we kind of like, hang on a second, we had a sort of idea that, call it the Crow, and then we can have a nice logo where the logo is a picture of a crow with a letter N that it's in its beak that it's nicked from the old sign.
Oh, nice.
Which, I mean,
That's
we're on
great,
essentially radio, so I can't, not much point me showing you, but, we've got a very talented member of staff at the Rutland. I mean, most of them are artists, not just piss artists either. And we got him to design it. He's very good at sort of gothic style things, so he's designed us a nice crow, which is going to be the pub sign and the logo.
Wow.
And that sort of brings it in. And both Kate and I, as Sean alluded to, are certainly not as much as my other family members of mine, but we are fairly fond of birds. So
Okay.
yeah,
Cool. Somewhere in amongst that, we heard the alarm go off, which means we're going to move on to beer number
You've got about 3 minutes for this
I'm excited about this.
We're opening it, so
I'm going to
the
get
clock
Laura
is
do
starting.
the explanations for this, other than to say it is from Brick Brewery down in London, SE15 I think, developing a real reputation for their range of sours. And the reason I'm going to hand over to Laura is twofold. One, she's our cocktail expert. This is a Manhattan sour. And two, the writing is so small and I haven't got my glasses on.
That smells very nice. It smells. I'm not getting the rhubarb straws and brew,
I
which sometimes
rinsed my
been
glass
gin.
out with
So
a
it
little
is-
bit of hoppy little lager.
Oh, that's not a bad idea.
So Manhattan's a very dry cocktail usually, isn't it? So it's interesting that this is a...
It's got a really
Sour.
unusual smell. Really
Is
unusual.
it custardy and rhubarb?
No, it's not at all. So this has got, it's what, sweet cherry, orange zest, cinnamon and ginger that's in this. So yeah, it basically is, it's based on the classic cocktail. It is 5.9%.
Oh, that's really nice.
And yeah, it's.
I've really
I've heard a bit of
enjoyed-
chatter about it. I've not tried it.
I haven't tried this one, but the other Brick Brewery sours that I've had have been really good. There was a lemon one, citrus sour, that literally tastes like alcoholic San Pellegrino, clouded lemonade. It's really good. I think this one tastes like bonfire toffee.
Yeah, I'm thinking autumn. Honestly, I was sat here thinking this is an autumn beer.
It's really nice.
It's got like two distinct flavours. Like when you first sit in your mouth, it tastes quite like either like a cherry, like a creek, or
Yeah,
almost
but
like that.
Yeah.
Then it has something
Like
else
finish.
Sweet,
different.
Yeah.
sweet and like a little bit of a burnt
Dry,
flavour,
yeah, there is.
and then a sour cherry and orange.
Every mouthful tastes a bit different.
Yeah, me and Laura both pulled out the same phase where you kept really thinking like what you expected it to, then did that like kind of slightly head jerk back. Oh, what was that?
I really like that.
the Manhattan is bourbon, vermouth, and cherry liqueur.
Take your word for it.
I thought it was
Well-
is it cherry garnish orange liqueur?
You're the only one of us that runs a bar, so we'll.
Not a
we'll
cocktail
go-
bar,
we'll
though.
go with that.
Hang
Ingredients:
on.
cherry garnish, dash of bitters, whiskey.
Ah.
Bourbon.
I've never understood what bitters are.
No,
And
vermouth.
vermouth.
Oh, yeah, and
Red
vermouth. Yeah,
Red vermouth.
yeah. Kind of. I guess that makes sense with the
It's like something to sort of
spices they're put in to emulate vermouth, cherry, and
As it's calmed down a bit now, I am getting a lot of cherry from it. But it's a real kind of dark cherry. It's like
is.
what's that dessert that you have?
Viennetta.
Black Forest Gatto, yeah. No, not the dessert that you have. A quid from Iceland, you sod. So that's Black Forest Gatto, which costs less than £1 from Iceland, to be fair. Yeah, it's got a bit of a Black Forest Gatto sort of thing for me now.
Great. I also, just going back to Brick Brewery sours, they have this sort of like really graphic, really nice, crisp, clean design to their sour range, which I really like. They're the beers that if I was judging a beer on looks alone, I would pick their sours. They're really pretty.
You're kind of a fan of unusual, weirdy stuff. Are you thumbs up or thumbs down?
Thumbs up. I really like it.
That was a very definite answer.
Yeah, I think it's great.
Sean,
I like it. It's very different, so I like it for that reason. It's very different without being too outrageous and too chancy.
So not sure being all excited about the cocktail theme,
but I honestly do feel that if I was drinking that on a... this is a silly thing perhaps to say, but I get a touch of really gentle smokiness from it.
From this?
Yeah, as I'm drinking it on my tongue.
Is that...
it's got something I drink
cinnamon,
on a nice...
ginger and stuff there.
It's taking me back to an October evening where the nights are drawing in and a fire somewhere. That's what that's taking me to.
I think what I like about
for
it...
a sour.
You compare it to what we had before with the Rhubarb and Custard. This for me tastes really natural. It actually tastes of the stuff that's supposed. There's no kind of synthetic kind of undertaste going on.
Much more authentic.
Yeah, it's not got that kind of like fizziness on your tongue. It's not lingering too much. It's not. It's just nice. It's just really nice. And for all those complex flavours to kind of put them together and to be able to make it something that is just drinkable. It's not doing anything kind of unexpected in my mouth. Is pretty good.
You know what it reminds me of, and I don't think it's quite anywhere near as complex as, but it's the Thornbridge. Is it Hearts? Is that the cherry one?
Yeah.
It's got that similar kind of flavour profile.
Yeah, it's a good shout. That.
Do you know which one I mean? I don't know. I can't,
Love Amongst the Ruins.
Yeah. If anyone's had that, it's a similar kind of flavour to that.
I think it is.
Aged on cherrywood. It's
Yeah.
aged on cherrywood, yeah.
I think Brick are one of the most underrated brewers out
they
there.
are.
I remember drinking their beer on cask at the Beer Engine several years ago now, and they had sort of 4 or 5 Brick Brewery beers on cask. So I don't think they even do cask anymore. Certainly not that you see outside of London. And just each one, I was just like, this is really good. And then they kind of went off the radar a bit, and then they've reappeared sort of in a slightly more modern, crafty sort of can and keg guys, but just
without still though maintaining the sort of protecting a nice reputation for not being too outrageous and too cool and too. Yeah.
I'd like to go to the tap room when I'm down in London. Whenever they're in South London, somewhere in sort of Crystal Palace area.
Somebody that I kind of thought Brick Lane, I kind of just imagined they'd be somewhere in that kind of...
That would make sense, wouldn't it?
I don't know how many I've even had of theirs, to be honest.
The sours have been brilliant. They've been doing the sour range probably for getting on nearly a year now, I would guess. Certainly in cans for us, and we take every one of them.
Do you think it tastes its strength? It's 5.9.
No, it doesn't.
I don't think it does it?
No.
It doesn't have that kind of warming finish to it, but it has a quite refreshing finish to it.
It tastes a bit like cherry juice. In a good way.
I think it's great. I think it's really good. It's
really,
good.
really good. I think I noticed, thought to myself recently that how little sours I've been having recently. I don't know.
Yeah, I've been the same. Some of them I've had have just been like, even like a third of it is enough.
It's really not sour though, is it?
No,
it's sour in that there will be a certain amount of sour included, but it's not. It's you could drink a pint of it, and I think whereas most sours after a pint you'd probably have indigestion.
Probably as tart as a pint of Strongbow and that kind of like it's
which I couldn't drink a pint.
Winner.
Hey, one beer to go. Come on.
I'm saying easy to winner. We have got one beer to go.
We have got a beer to go.
Shall we attack that beer straight away?
Yeah, we can do. Yeah.
Are we within?
We're within.
Did we come back within your holiday get off threshold? Where are you going tomorrow, James?
I'm going to Budapest.
Oh, very nice.
Oh, I want to go to
I've not been. I've heard good things about the beer scene in Budapest.
Yeah, really
so
good.
I'm looking forward to.
When I was in Budapest, I was just walking down the street, having been to one of the ruin pubs called Simple. Yeah. And it was the big one.
Yeah.
So, and Charlie from Bar Stewards. Before Bar Stewards opened, actually, it was just maybe they'd done one or two of their sort of one-off openings. Just walking the other way with his partner.
Did you, and Charlie, get this? Did you dodge him and manage to avoid him, or did
No, I had
what
to,
a nightmare!
I know. Straight into, he's got big plans for the West Marsh angle there.
Think about the ruin pubs, like, especially the famous one, which is the simpler one. Don't go there expecting particularly good beer, though.
No.
I
think we drank wine there because we're like
definitely go there.
Yeah.
Go and drink a lager and just have a wander around for a bit.
And so we drank because Hungarian wine's really good as well and really cheap. We'd had some really really good craft beer pubs, but
I sent you one. I can't remember how to say it. But I think it's actually an E.
Oh yes,
yeah,
Leicester
really
or
it's
something
kind of mainly
like
outdoors
that.
almost, but
Third can, sorry,
Fourth can, last beer.
Fourth can. It's not 2012 though. That's the.
No one remembers that. There's no need to mention
it. It's from Ridgeside Brewery in Leeds. Ridgeside, I think first came to sort of a bit of a prominence. I think it was the first hop city, and they got one of their beers came third overall. I think in terms of beer of the festival. I think they were invited along to the first hop city as a recognition of their locality, more than their reputation that they built up so far. So they got a beer in third, which was in very good company, and have gone on to quite a bit of success since. This beer is called Milky Joe. It's a coffee milk stout, 5.6%. This is one of my great missed opportunities on Coffee at Moor Market, or our neighbours in the Moor Market. I have a member of staff working on there called Joe. He buys beers from us. He pours milk in coffees all day. And why the hell I didn't use him as part of the publicity? I will never ever
fail.
No. And when I posted the beer, he came in the following morning saying, "I'm going to try one of the Milky Joes," and I nearly bloody cried my eyes out when I realised that I'd missed the opportunity.
Yeah.
Does anyone know where the names come from?
No.
Maybe it's actually after him.
Adam knows. Hang on. Adam knows. He's got that smug look on his
know,
face.
No, I had to look it up because I weren't sure. But it's Mighty Boosh, isn't it? It's
was it?
The Mighty Boosh, yeah.
Oh, I've never watched it.
But isn't there a Leeds connection to the Mighty in one of them from Leeds? Noel Fielding from Leeds.
Possibly, yeah.
2 years ago, I was in London, sat in the window of Pizza Pilgrim, sat looking out with a Nugget pizza in front of me, and me and Noel had full-on eye contact, and he looked away first, Adam.
It's
It's
his birthday.
This sounds a bit like me sharing a wink with Sean Bean.
He looked away first.
It's his birthday in 11 days because
Is it?
We share the same birthday.
Yeah.
It's one of those random facts we look up who celebrities you share your birthday.
Is Noel Fielding's face as big in real life as it is on TV?
I only gaze into his eyes. I mean, he's a good-looking lad. He's a good-looking lad.
You've been championing Ridgeside generally, haven't you?
We stock their beers regularly. I wouldn't say championing particularly, but we like their artwork, Farrett Art, and
beautiful art.
And we like their range of beers. They're popular. Customers buy them. And
one of your favourite beers was this Ridgeside one recently, I think.
Oh, excuse me. Yes, it was which you weren't as keen on actually.
Yeah,
it
just
was
the style thing.
The mango milkshake IPA.
Just a milkshake thing for me.
Monkey on the front. What was it called again?
Mandarin
Mandrill. Yeah, I really enjoyed that actually.
Thoughts on the Milky Joe then?
I've not had Milky Joe. Yeah.
I'm not keen on the aroma. It's a little bit acrid, I think, but the flavour's a lot nicer than the smell. I'm enjoying drinking it.
I think I expected it to be a bit sweeter.
It's quite thin.
I was expecting a bit more body.
Yeah.
It's quite pleasant,
but
like in taste.
Yeah.
It's just
it's a bit burnt coffee in the flavour.
Milk stout.
It says it's
Nothing
a coffee milk
particularly
stout.
sexy.
So yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't have that sort of slightly sweeter.
No, yeah. So
smoothness to it.
possibly a touch sweeter, possibly a touch thicker on the mouthfeel would be a winning idea.
Still nice though.
It's 5.6%.
There's plenty of coffee in there, isn't there?
Yeah.
I wouldn't expect anything too
It feels a little bit like espresso martini kind of.
Yeah. I get that.
This is not going to help me get to sleep
Oh.
at 9 o'clock tonight, is it, for my flight tomorrow? Flipping heck. About 14 spoonfuls of Nescafe in that.
It's cafe hag.
Yeah, I like that.
It's quite drinkable, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think we've had certainly 3 out of the 4 beers that we've had have gone down really, really easily.
Which is lucky considering your 10-minute rule.
It's almost like Sean knew.
Well,
All cans this time. We always try and.
I didn't know whether glasses would be made available, so I thought cans would be an angle there. I was worried all day as to who I might have to share with. I normally share with Adam on the can front, but
We have had guests in the hotel, so we have
Of course.
provided glasses for water.
these were your.
Makes sense.
Have they all been snooker guests, Chris?
No, one of them was for the folk festival.
Right.
Down in loads of the pubs in this area. Most of them were snooker guests, yes.
We had some American customers in the shop a week ago who'd travelled across to the UK and had come to the folk festival. Yeah, knew all about it, and we're heading down to Shakespeare's after us.
So just thinking about it, I don't know. You mentioned about you slightly mentioned about the rooms and things, but it is actually a proper inn. Isn't it?
It is actually going to be. It's been a hotel for the last 10 years or so.
So we've literally got guests above us right now.
We haven't got guests above us right now because there are rooms above us, all done up now with all en suite, somewhere in the price range between sort of £40 to £60 a night. Just as a quick plug there.
Yeah.
In case anybody outside of Sheffield is listening and fancies a stay.
Have we got a TripAdvisor rating yet?
We have not got. Well, the old place does, but I wouldn't. It's
I was
not.
wondering whether your snooker guest might have.
We got basically a 5-star review from one of our guests, a couple. Yes, no, it sort of exceeded expectations because the guests that we've had so far had booked in under the old owners basically,
right.
because it was for snooker, so it was one of those people book in advance when they get a ticket sort of thing. And so they hadn't, rooms beforehand. There was only one en-suite room out of 10. They were dated decor.
Yeah, they were expecting a dossal and they got a nice place.
Yeah,
really.
and I mean, it is still a bit of a building site.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't show them down here,
Yeah.
and upstairs it's less of a building site. Oh, there's a magpie on the scaffolding. That's nearly really appropriate.
Pub number 3, the Magpie Inn.
Yes.
Well, it's for people who we do have a section of listeners who are outside Sheffield and maybe have not actually made that journey yet.
Yeah,
come and see us. Yeah.
Perfect place to stay.
Yeah, great
It's
location.
ideal.
I've already recommended it to a snooker fan customer of ours who's reckons he's going to go for it.
On the subject of the snooker, Steve Davis is now the Rutland Arms #1 fan.
Is it?
He discovered it about halfway through, and he came in basically every night afterwards when he could, when he wasn't working too late.
Right.
He drank a lot of Colonel.
Laura once sat and had a beer with him in Brew Dog.
Yeah.
Laura and Laura
Yeah.
and Stevie Boy. We wouldn't allow him to participate in our bottle share because he'd not brought anything with him.
So we just went and said hello to him at the end.
We've got less than 2 minutes left on this beer, which means we've got to move on to beer of the month.
No, beer of the night.
Beer of the night. That's true. Yeah, beer of the night.
I think I've got a feeling we might get
Something
a
like me
clean
to be
sweep
sharp.
this month.
A clean sweep.
Yeah, I reckon we
I
might.
don't think so.
I don't think we've ever had one, have we? We've never had one that
Deliberately
everyone's
opposite
gone
to
for.
you. now.
Well, you go first. You go first. I'll copy
We'll
it.
put Sean on the spot then. What's yours?
Wow.
So you haven't thought it through.
No, I haven't. No. So my beer of the month. No. Beer of the night. The one I've enjoyed drinking the most tonight. You mean?
Yeah. You turned into Louis Walsh.
You're doing a really good job of wasting this too
person
long.
I'm sending
that's
home
what I'm
tonight.
trying to do. Yeah.
Is
I found the rhubarb is dry and a bit too sweet. Found that one lacking a little bit of creaminess, and I see normally
Sure,
I
you're
go
right.
through all
No,
these
no
processes.
pressure, but 48 seconds.
You also can't point at something when
I'm
you're
not,
on a
I'm
podcast.
not,
Yeah.
I'm not going to go for the sour, even though I liked it. So, shamefully, the one I could drink the most of and would happily have a good 4, 5, 6 cans of would be Hoppy Little Lager. There you
Wow.
go.
Well,
There you go.
yeah.
Adam. There you go.
Didn't see that coming.
Well, Adam sent me the challenge,
Yeah.
so
He would have
Right.
gone for. He would have gone for different.
Let's go to
I
the
would've.
opposite end of the scale then, Adam.
I think the brick sour.
The Manhattan sour.
Easily.
that's what I would have said, but I knew you were going to say that.
Chris, your favourite beer of the night?
I think from having the most flavour and the one I drink the most of, Adam's right. I think it's the Manhattan Sour. Is Sean is totally wrong picking the lager.
Well, no, I would have picked the sour, but
Alright, well, so-
Tactical voting. It's like
Yeah,
the EU
yeah.
election.
I want to spoil
in
Adam's night.
advance.
Look at his face; he's gutted.
no, because he
Go on,
basically
Laura.
admitted that you're right.
Manhattan sour for me. I knew I was going to like it, and it didn't let me down.
Laura's got one saved as well, so she's got more to look forward to.
Yes.
So I almost want to go for the Milky
Hoppy
Joe
Little-
just to be different, but actually, the Manhattan Sour is the best beer out of the four of them. So it gets my vote. So it's four votes.
I
It's
also
actually
thought
5 votes, but Sean's just lying.
The lager was
Just the
far
Barnsley
superior.
inside him is.
Far superior.
So there we go. So yeah, Brick's Manhattan Sour is officially our beer of the night.
The light
Looking
night
ahead then,
tomorrow.
next month
Yeah,
we've
I'll
got
like
something a bit different up our sleeves next month. It's our first Hopcast away day. We did try and do something similar last year, but the northern train strike put pay to that. So we're off on a bit of adventure for a day in June, and we'll reveal more details about that in the next few weeks.
No clues to where we might be going.
No.
No.
Well, your clues are rubbish. Your clues would just be like, well, it's
It's got a castle.
okay. That's enough. No more. And
Conisbrough.
Right,
I live near Conisbrough.
there's
Good to see you.
there's a castle
Look
and
pretty
at
mad.
least one brewery that's based there. Is that?
There is one
Is
brewery
that-
based there. That's not the brewery that we're going to talk to. They're based out of that place.
This is why we're not giving clues. Right, Sean, stum. Right, Chris, thank you very much for your company tonight. The very
Thank
best
you very
of luck.
much. Yeah.
I'm assuming that you'll be kind of all over social media with
I'd
updates
hope
with,
so. Yes.
as it gets closer and
It's
closer. to
at the Crow Inn on Facebook. That is the only social media we're currently on, I think, but I don't really take Instagram seriously. So, as anyone who follows my
I'm
Instagram will
not-
probably
yeah.
know.
I've not seen
You
you
can
on
follow,
any.
you can follow Chris
yeah.
independently. You'll find out updates unless he blocks you. But
Excellent. The best of luck with it. Looking forward
Thanks very much.
to coming in and enjoying your lovely
very
beers.
Hopefully, if you do another one from here, we'll actually be open. We'll still
you
see.
have to shut it for us to do it. So
That's true, actually.
I don't know hotel. You can be live from a room.
We could do it on
Imagine us
the
going
opening
straight on.
night, and then we're guaranteed to get an invite, can't we?
Oh,
We'll
that's
do it
good
on the
point,
opening
yeah.
night.
Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Right, have a fantastic month, and we will see you in June.